Today got good beans in first crack. It made the loudest sound of first crack. Till date, wondered why. The loudest crack. Okay. Why was this crack louder than anything else? That could be a couple of things. So in roasting, you can roast something aggressively and you can roast something gently. You may have heard that online, you know, approach it gently or go slowly or something like that. That just means your application with the heat. So aggressive means a lot of heat and moving through the roast very quickly, moving and hitting your markers of like turning point, dry end, first crack, hitting those markers maybe a little quicker than usual, than standard, right? Let's not get into standard. So that would be an aggressive way of sort of like roasting. A gentler way of roasting, it could also be your charge temp too, like a high charge temp. A gentle way of roasting would be like a lower charge temp. Maybe like for me, gentle means 350. Like I'm approaching this natural coffee or this decaf coffee at a gentle charge time, which is like maybe 350, something like that. Okay. Applying heat at a slower pace instead of an aggressive pace. So for example, like my decaf, I'm going to charge, say, at like 350, and I'm going to move my heat down pretty quickly too, because I want not that much heat, right? I don't want to scorch or face or heat the coffee too quickly. I don't want to be aggressive with it, so I'm going to do the opposite of that. Now, if I have a higher elevation coffee, or maybe it's like a coffee like my Vietnam coffee, really big bean, could take a lot of energy. Maybe it's really dense too, it can take a lot of energy in, meaning it take a lot of heat. I can apply more heat or more energy. With the sound of crack, when you roast something gently, sometimes you get a very gentle crack, like, and then sometimes you can get an aggressive crack, right? So you've heard those differences. So, and it can be like the sound of it can mean maybe that coffee just had, I don't know, just a lot of moisture in it. The temperature that you're using is maybe a lot higher, and it's causing this sort of like eruption of that moisture when the bean cracks and expands like that, when it hits that temperature. Those are mostly in my experience. That's when you get loud cracks versus quieter cracks. What's interesting is I have this Mr. Pablo, right? We have Mr. Pablo on the site right now. Fermented coffee natural. My first fermented coffee natural. Like this, very quiet crack. For whatever reason. And naturals, I think in general, do have quieter cracks versus washed. There's a reason to that. I looked it up before. I knew it before. I don't remember right now. But in general, natural coffees have quieter cracks than washed coffees. So then my follow-up question for you is it a washed coffee? And if anything, it's nothing to really make is the coffee good or coffee bad? No, it's an observation. You go, this coffee cracks loud. And you can write that down if you like, right? You can put that in your notes. I put it in my notes because it's one of the markers of like, oh, this coffee does this. And it's good to know that this coffee does this or it behaves like this under these circumstances, right? Because if something is off sometimes, and a coffee that maybe cracks loud, and maybe it's cracking quiet the next time, you go, why is it doing that? You go look back at your notes and you see, my something was too low, my heat was too low here or something like that. And maybe you go make that correlation. You look in your roast curve, you see if everything's matching up. And it's just one of those things that you go, cool, it's either a marker of success or it's a marker for concern. Next,